He woke up inside the game, as Luke, the sluggish frog-faced villain, defeated in the early chapters. Knowing exactly how and when he's supposed to die, he works harder than anyone just to secure a lazy, peaceful future. Studying magic, searching for a calm family to marry into, doing everything possible to avoid the flags that lead straight to his doom, yet fate keeps dragging him into trouble anyway. For a man who wants nothing but rest, survival might be the hardest job of all. Will he ever achieve his dream of doing absolutely nothing? Let's find out. The story begins with MC thinking that on his 5th birthday, he lost consciousness and had a nightmare. In this dream, he was older. A group of people stood in front of him, and a guy swung a sword to kill him. In the present, he sat up and thought that during this nightmare, he remembered that this was the world from the game that he knew very well. Also, Luke, the villain who is killed in this scene, it was him. He adored this game, a fantasy world full of love and war, intended for adults. The main character of this game is considered the strongest swordsman, the Emperor of the Sword, who is now enjoying life at the academy. The plot is where he can fall in love and train with his comrades to become stronger, after which he defeated the family of an evil duke who was planning a coup d'etat. He is also the second son of this duke. In this game, he has a terrible nickname, a nasty, fat toad. This character bullied the protagonist and his friends, acting like a pathetic tyrant and hiding behind his family's authority. People gave him this nickname, ridiculing his nasty appearance and personality. Since this is a game for adults, there are some pretty violent scenes, and he couldn't stand it. The reason he has such a terrible personality is because his mother died immediately after giving birth, and no one in his family cared about him. As a result, he committed evil acts to earn his family's recognition. However, he neglected his training and developed an inferiority complex. Nothing came of the magical talent he had since birth. In the end, he turned out to be a pawn for the duke to sacrifice. He didn't even reach mini-boss status and existed only to be killed. He and the game's protagonist are supposed to be 15 years old at the beginning of the game. Does this mean this is what he will become in 10 years? He doesn't want to die. He still has memories from his past life, so the love of his new family doesn't bother him. If he can stop himself from becoming a nasty fat toad and not do evil, maybe he can change the future. After which, he will live a calm, happy life. Fortunately, he is an aristocrat and doesn't have to worry about money. This is not true. His family is evil. He cannot change that. He will not be able to avoid the purge that awaits them. He wants to be strong enough to protect himself. His character had a talent for magic, after all. He can sense some kind of light spiritual energy. Is that mana? How can he use magic without the game interface? He remembered the game interface and thought that he should try saying it out loud. He used the healing skill, noticed that it worked, and thought that it was not immediately obvious because he cannot see the health bar. It seemed that he felt a little better. However, could it get even better? He used this spell many times in a row, and after some time, morning came. A servant knocked on his door, called him, and said it was time to get up. How was he feeling today? He woke up and thought he felt tired, but healthy. Did he pass out because his mana ran out? So it's enough for a dozen uses? He won't understand anything until he starts learning magic. The servant entered the room and asked if he still felt unwell. He thought that, frankly, he could use a teacher. He got out of bed and thought that he didn't think his father would find him a teacher even if he asked. He called Syrup and said that he wanted her to read to him. His personal maid, a beastman dog, happily agreed. She saw a book on the basics of magic and asked if he wanted her to read to him such a difficult book. Maybe a picture book would be better. She personally adores Hatchin, a faithful dog. The protagonist said that he wanted to try learning magic. He made a pitiful face and asked her politely, which touched her very much. She sat on the sofa, he laid his head on her legs, and she said that he was such a boy. He asked if she could also teach him to read and write. She was the only one he could rely on. She said with a happy expression that he could count on her. After some time, she asked if maybe it was time for them to start training. He thought that the beastman dogs, apparently like real dogs, love training. He refused. She opened the book again, and he thought that this was how she began to teach him. She had great difficulty reading what was written in the book, and he said that he was surprised that she could read such complex words. She was depressed and asked if it was of any use at all. He supported her and thought that the book turned out to be quite difficult to read. In short, magic is based on mana, a transparent energy that fills the air around them. The amount and power with which it can be used depends on personal talent. It seems that the spiritual energy he felt is actually mana. His character does have a talent for magic. How to use magic. It is enough to imagine and direct mana where it is needed. He was able to use healing because he imagined how mana was healing him. The difference between attribute and non-attribute magic. Non-attribute magic is simple magic that anyone can use. Attribute magic requires special talent. It says here that most aristocrats have attribute magic. The Descastos family has an exceptional bloodline. Maybe he, too, can learn attribute magic before his... He didn't have time to finish his thought because he fell asleep, and Syrup immediately carried him to bed. She touched his face with a kind smile and said that she would take care of his safety. 1 year later, MC practiced using magic and thought that his daily mana reserve had increased. It seems he can increase his mana reserves by using this fully every day. It was hard at first. He kept zoning out. It's a shame he couldn't find a teacher. The annex where he lives only has a butler and 3 maids, so he can't learn much there. He learned to read and started studying books. He became interested in how to avoid the fate of a fat, disgusting toad. First, he needs to take care of his health. Judging by his character's appearance in the game, his health needs some work. Pimples, spots, warts, cracked skin, excess weight. People in this world don't wash every day. Syrup took a soap ball and said it was gorgeous, the bubbles sticking to her hands. However, why is it so foamy? He sat next to her and asked if he has sensitive skin. Maybe it will be gentler this way. She was very surprised by what she heard and asked loudly, if he has sensitive skin? He thought that indeed it would be impossible to know unless one saw his appearance from the future. He said that it was no problem now. There was no need to worry. They started washing their faces, and she said that she was his personal maid, so she would remember his daily routine. Luke thought that this is how they started doing their facials twice a day together. You have to be rich enough to use expensive skincare products without thinking about the price. Soap, body and face lotion, moisturizer, sunscreen, magical practice and preparation for bath procedures. They came to the veranda to wash, and she said that she could not get used to washing her body. He sat next to her and said that he was glad that she learned it. However, even in years to come, her skin will be smooth. If she continues like this, she will grow up very beautiful. She looked at him and said that it seemed that all sorts of things come to his mind, and he looks much better than before. Lately, they began to cook in turns. He remembered how he asked the butler to stop cooking for him, and thought that he needed to change his diet as soon as possible. He always felt sick after eating. Maybe the dishes of this world just weren't right for him. His health improved when he started cooking for himself. Dishes from his past life that he found healthy. He didn't seem to have any stomach problems. She said that he also stopped sleeping until lunch. He thought that he started waking up early in the morning to correct his daily routine and started walking in the sun every day. She said happily that they could walk now. He thought that he started walking and doing simple exercises. She asked cheerfully if it was time to start exercising. He refused and thought that he didn't really like exercising, so that was out of the question. She helped him into the bath. He called her name and said that he wanted to live an easy and healthy life. She didn't understand him, and he said that, however, he thought that an easy life would be hard to achieve. She still didn't understand it, and he said that if he just ate and slept, he would become something terrible pretty quickly. Syrup was surprised by this and asked loudly, "Can you become terrible if you eat and sleep?" But he's so cute, isn't he? The protagonist thought he had no idea how his character had become like that. He thinks he has the potential to grow up handsome if he puts his mind to it. He said that it would also mean he'd have a lot of free time. She asked if it was because he was an aristocrat. He said that relaxing wasn't really relaxing if he didn't do anything else. He thought that an amusement park or a casino would quickly become boring if he did them every day. Also, judging by the way his father treats him, they'll just end up sacrificed. He may have been born an aristocrat, but that doesn't mean he's safe. His character abused his background, which led to his downfall. However, he'll try to make the most of it to prepare for the future. Since he had a privileged childhood, he'll try to avoid unnecessary difficulties. He's counting on his wife's support in the future. However, if he can't get married, he'll need a source of income that will allow him to survive on his own without any worries. One of the choices that could change his destiny is not going to the academy. His character mainly appears only in the academy arc. The game is divided into two major arcs. The academy arc focuses on romance and training. The war arc is where he has to deal with what the villain has done. Mastering both arcs will lead him to a bright future. If he doesn't attend the academy, his chances of survival will increase significantly. However, he has no reason to do so. After all, the characters of this game are there, and he loves them. He will try to enjoy this world as this character. He wants to be a happy slacker. After that, Syrup asked with a smirk, so he wants to live a healthy and easy life? Then he must learn how to wield a sword. MC said that he would prefer to move as little as possible. She said with a sad look that, however, not only is it fun, but it will also help him protect himself. He thought she really likes sword fighting, right? He asked why he needs to learn fencing if he has her. She was surprised by this and asked if he knew that she had been training. He said that he had that feeling, so he would leave the fighting to her. Was that okay with her? She agreed, left the room, and wished him good night. He lay down on his bed and thought that he knew that he refused every offer of training from her. However, he still needed to move at least a little if he wanted to be healthy. The next morning, he left the manor and thought that this is why he invented a new spell. He summoned a creature he named Val, and it was an original, attributeless magic. He thought that this spell could work while he slept. Before understanding how it works, you need to understand something else. Attributeless magic is basic magic that transforms mana into different forms. Attributeless magic can be divided into 5 categories. Everyday magic is magic that can help with daily tasks. For example, light for illumination, cleaning for cleaning, and laundry. Almost everyone can use this magic. Power magic is magic that can temporarily enhance physical attributes, such as strength, agility, or defense. The power of magic depends on personal abilities, but stamina is spent in exchange. The effect varies from person to person, depending on training. Enchantment magic is a special school of magic that can enhance weapons with attributes. It is a form of support magic used by blacksmiths and enchanters. He doesn't know how to use it at all. Support magic is a school of magic that specializes in supporting or weakening others. The effect depends on your own imagination and how specific the spell is. For example, Get Stronger makes a person physically stronger, arm strength increases threefold, and mana will make arm muscles 3 times stronger. You need to cover the target with mana for support. Healing magic uses mana to restore the body. The effect depends on the caster's anatomical knowledge. He is grateful for the training from his previous life. He is excellent at healing magic. All attributeless magic relies on mana transformation. That's what he did. To create Val, a self-sufficient spell, he called him and asked him to bring him water. He flew to the table, swallowed the glass of water, and brought it to him. He thanked him and thought that he just needed to command. It was time for the final test. He laid his head on the table and said that he was leaving everything to him. He thought that he ordered him to envelop his body while he slept and do exercises with his body for him. If he could do them unconscious, it would be very simple. After this training, he said with a tired look that it seemed to work. Luke went to the manor and thought it was amazing that it could move on its own. This way, he could do exercises while lazing around. He lay down on the couch and thought that the next day, however, his muscles still hurt. So far, so good, but there was still a lot to do. It was only noon, but he was already hungry. He just finished studying and he's still growing. Holding back too much is also harmful. Still, the main goal he's working towards is just the easy life of a lazy villainous aristocrat. 5 years later, he turned 11 and Syrup turned 17. He was sitting on a hovering pillow, reading a book, and said he understood everything. She called his name, and he asked, "What is it?" She asked, "How is he able to hover above the ground?" He turned to her and thought he understood that it made no difference whether he levitated a glass or himself. However, explaining this to her would be quite difficult since she knew nothing about magic. It would be better to simply evade the answer. He called her name and asked if she wanted to go for a ride. She asked in surprise, "Can she do that?" He agreed, after which she sat down on the pillow and he said that there was nothing to fear. He supported it with his mana. She trusted him and was very surprised when she realized she was hovering. She turned to him with a happy look and said that she had never felt so comfortable. He said that he was glad to hear it. She raised her hand and asked if she could ask one more question. Having received consent, she asked, since he is always reading or sleeping, then why is his body so trained? The protagonist thought that her confusion was not surprising. After all, she only saw him walk. He said that he could tell about it. After that, they went outside, and he said that she should just watch. He gathered energy in his hand and said that first he collects mana into a dense ball. He put it into his energy, and she looked at him in surprise. This energy engulfed him, and he thought that Val had developed a lot in these 5 years, and he began to understand him much better. He realized that he could do something else over the past 5 years of diligent practice. He began to show martial arts moves, and this shocked Syrup even more. She looked at it intently and asked, "What is going on?" He said he hated training, didn't he? She called his name, but he didn't answer and showed a few more moves, then stopped. He turned around and asked how she liked it. She said loudly that it was amazing. She was amazed at his hard work. He said that he didn't really try that hard. She asked what he was talking about. He moved like a true master. She had never seen anyone move like that, not even real fighters. He thought he invented a new spell and called it Trace. He places Val into his body and sends memories into it directly from his brain. He reproduces the moves of his favorite martial artists. Although he himself doesn't remember them, he can retrieve them from his subconscious and repeat them. Depending on the source, he can even combine moves from games and manga. All his knowledge of fighting styles and history came together to create his own style. He said that he doesn't even realize how he moves, so it can't be called hard work. However, he still trained his body and even developed some muscle memory, which is quite useful. She said that the levitation spell alone was impressive. So he also created new magic on his own? He is a real genius. He denied it, and she said that her master was only 11 years old, but he had already been able to look into the mysterious abyss called magic. He started to leave and said that he did not understand what she was talking about at all. It seemed that this meant that she was just having a hard time understanding. He thought that it was natural. He received all the knowledge from his past life, but he still didn't really understand how it worked. He said that he was very tired after training. She followed him and asked if he wanted to change his clothes now. He said that he was thinking about taking a short bath. She offered to go with him, after which they came to a spring in the forest, and he thought that this was the nearest source of water for bathing. He took off his clothes, climbed into the water, and thought that if he thought about it, the maids were constantly repeating what a beauty she had grown up to be. She continued to repeat the procedures he had taught her for the past 5 years. Lately, it seemed that her beauty had reached a new level. Besides, she had been training diligently in fencing and had greatly improved her skill. After that, he changed his clothes, called her, and thought that she still behaved like a faithful dog who rejoiced at the mere mention of her name. Perhaps, seeing her from a sweet side was his special privilege. They returned to the estate, and he said that he had a job for her. He asked her to tell his father that he wanted his magical attribute determined. happened. She left the room, and he thought with a smile that he was really looking forward to this. Attribute magic, with which one can use innate special abilities. In this world, it is called the power bestowed by a god. If he is told what his attribute is, he will be able to use it. However, who can determine this? The Ministry of Magic. They deal with all attribute magic, a place where the most powerful wizards in the world gather. This means that someone belonging to this elite group must come and determine his attribute. It's a privilege for aristocrats. Some people may not have attributes. However, he doesn't think he needs to worry about it. Even among other nobles, all members of the Discastos family have outstanding attributes. His father has sand, his stepmother has stone, his older sister has seduction, and his older brother has iron. He wonders what attribute he will have. The next day, he was sitting on a pillow and noticed that the door to the room opened. An unknown man in glasses entered the room and said that there was a pillow and a beautiful girl on it. MC looked at him and wondered, who the hell is that? Did he think he was a girl? Of course, he was not bad looking before, plus all these beauty treatments. But is he really that cute? Syrup also entered the room and said that this was the head of the Attribute Magic Department from the Ministry of Magic, Malsa Glyco. After that, she walked further into the room. He adjusted his glasses, called the young lady and said that he had such an excellent memory. She remembered the full title of his position, although she heard it only once. Although, it was worth expecting from the servants of the Discastos family. They do not make mistakes. She agreed, and he asked, where is the young master of the Discastos family? She said his name, and said that here he is. He was embarrassed by this and said that he apologized for rudeness. Luke looked at him and wondered, did he just praise her? The church adheres to the doctrine of the superiority of man. It teaches that all but real people deserve contempt. A real person, someone who is not a half-human, not a beastman, not a spirit, and not a demon. For a second, he thought that he would scold her, and he would be forced to intervene. Now it seems to him that he is hardly a bad person. Malsa said his name, and he walked up to him, greeted him, and called him by his shortened name. After that, he extended his hand and said that he could just call him by his name. He was pleased to meet him. He shook his hand with a kind smile and reciprocated. After that, they sat opposite each other, and he said that he would determine his attribute. He should close his eyes. He took a nervous breath, took out his wand, and said that he was beginning sleep and laziness. After that, he opened his eyes and thought that the moment he heard his words, the attributes in him awakened. More precisely, he finally realized that this had always been in him. He said with a surprised smile that it was amazing. He really understood what kind of magic he could use as soon as he heard his attributes. Malsa said that he asked to allow him to explain. Among attribute magic, there is a unique one that is considered rare magic, and both of his attributes are rare. Usually, attribute magic is written down and published in the public domain, but according to custom, they keep rare magic secret. It seems he won't mind if they record his magic as affecting the human body. The protagonist agreed and said that only simple ways of using it come to mind. Are there any others? He agreed and said that everyone has spells that suit them better than others. He can improve his skills if he researches attributes. This is the only way to become a master. He sat in front of him with a smile and thought, so the magic that suits him. He said that he will keep this in mind when he starts training. However, he is surprised. He didn't know that appraisal magic existed. Malsa was very surprised by this and asked how he knew about appraisal magic. He asked, however, he just appraised his attributes, right? Isn't that enough? He thought that as a reincarnator, he just guessed, but apparently it's a secret. He wanted to say something with a confused look, and he apologized and asked if she could bring them some tea. Syrup agreed and quickly brought them 2 cups of tea. He tried it and said it was very tasty. MC said it was herbal tea, very good for the body. He said with a satisfied look that this tea cleared his head. Could he know what it was called? He said that he grew it himself. He couldn't buy it anywhere, if that's what he wanted to know. However, he didn't mind sharing the leaves if he wanted. Also, does he think he should keep the appraisal magic a secret? He said with a kind smile that he was grateful for understanding. His daughter would like this tea. He asked if he had a daughter. He agreed and said that she was about his age. She really liked magic. By the way, speaking of magic, he apologizes for asking, but what is this spell with the flying pillow? It can't be ordinary magic, right? He felt embarrassed by his behavior and said that he apologized for his lack of restraint. He said with a smile that everything was fine. They could talk about it. After that, he called Val and showed it to him. After some time, Malsa said that he was grateful to him for giving him his valuable time. Luke called him by name and asked if he didn't mind if he would become his teacher. He asked with a little surprise, did he mean a magic teacher? He adjusted his glasses and said that he didn't think he needed a teacher. Besides, what would he like to know? He said that he wasn't asking for much. He would just like to receive answers to the letters, in which he would ask about things about magic that he didn't understand. Was that okay with that? He asked. Does that mean he wants to be pen pals? That's quite interesting. He asked with a happy expression. Does that mean he agrees? He asked. Does he mind if he asks questions too? He said with a satisfied expression that of course he didn't mind, although he wasn't sure he could answer that. Malsa said with a kind smile that that's what they agreed on. He would be glad to correspond with them. He thanked him for this, and after some time thought that he had found himself a teacher. Thanks to him, he learned a lot about magic. Unlike attributeless magic, where mana and imagination are enough to cast spells, Attribute magic has its own rules that must be followed, depending on the attribute. Appraisal magic helped him understand his innate magic. Innate magic is what they call the basic spells of their attribute. For example, basic fire spells. The first, Lesser Light, creates a small fire. The second, Fireball, condenses and strengthens mana. The third, Fire Arrow, launches condensed mana. His sleep attribute also has 3 innate spells. The first, Sleep, puts the target to sleep. The effect depends on the invested mana and the target's resilience, so you need to maintain a balance. The second, Sleep Timer, allows you to adjust the sleep timer with a touch. The spell's target won't wake up until the timer runs out, no matter what happens. Third, Sleep Removal, allows you to remove sleep magic from the target. You can protect yourself from the magic with resistance or defensive magic. However, if they don't know in advance, he can put the targets to sleep before they even realize it. And if he also uses laziness, he's sure they won't even think about what's happening. Both of his attributes are so powerful that it feels like cheating. However, if there are fire arrows, he'd like to create a sleep arrow. Then he'd be able to put people to sleep from a distance. He could put the teacher to sleep and skip classes as much as he wants. He wants to try countless spells. There's not enough time to try them all. After some time, the protagonist was practicing outside and realized that he'd gotten into the habit of casting spells over Val's body for morning practice. This way, he clears his head and finds it easier to focus on experimenting with magic. His stomach started to rumble, and he thought he should probably cook something to eat. Syrup peeked out of the manor, called out to the master, and asked if he wanted to eat. He agreed and asked if she could cook. He went into the manor and thought that he was still cooking dishes from memory from his previous life. He cooks with her in turns. Although she does an excellent job of any maid's work and her cooking is quite edible, she lacks attention to detail. He needs to talk to her later. His concerns are growing with age. He needs to wash off the sweat while she cooks. He came to the nearest source of water, started to wash himself, and heard voices nearby. He got out of the water and thought that usually there's no one here. The girl asked, will she really die here alone and not a single soul will help her? He started to dry his head and thought, is this place completely safe? Is the child lost? He asked in a calm voice, who is here? The girl was very surprised to hear his voice and asked, are there people here? He approached her and she was very embarrassed when she saw him. Her face turned very red, and he thought, must be a guest from his sister's tea party? She, apparently, invites noble ladies to her place to expand her gang. Had he really forgotten that this was happening today? He asked, is she a guest of his older sister Iris? She asked with a surprised expression if she had a younger brother. He calmly said his full name and she was very surprised when she heard it. She immediately knelt down and said loudly that she is the Count's daughter, Karen Sia Cariban. MC was a little surprised by this and wondered why she introduced herself like that. He said with a smile that she was quite funny. He crouched in front of her, extended his hand and asked if she could use attribute magic. She took his hand. They stood up and she agreed to it. He said that he really liked magic. Could she show her magic? She agreed with a happy expression on her face, started looking for something under her dress, and took out a small bag. She took out a lot of ingredients from there, and he asked in surprise if her magic was in the purse. She denied it and said that such a purse could be bought anywhere. She would show her magic soon, but for now, could you get dressed? He started to leave and thought that it looked like this wallet could fit a lot of things. That was interesting. After that, she picked up the knife she used to cut vegetables with and said that her attribute magic was cooking. She very quickly prepared spicy moon rabbit soup, wished him bon appetit, and said that she made it with what she had on hand. He was going to try it and thought that it smelled delicious. I wonder how food cooked with magic is different. He tried it and, with great surprise, thought that it was insanely delicious. He had never eaten anything more delicious in his life, even in his past life. He didn't even notice how he ate it all and thought that he also felt power within himself. Does she also buff with this food? Can this young aristocrat cook buffing dishes? She would make the perfect support for a lazy person like him. He can't let her escape. He called her by name, leaned towards her and asked if she would make him soup like this every day when they grew up. He asked her to marry him and thought that he would be happy to become related to her family. It seemed that she would be able to support him when the Descastos family collapsed. But what's more important is that he simply needs her delicious cooking. Karen looked at him with a shocked expression and asked, is he asking her to marry him? He thought that a wonderful meeting awaited him that day. He even contacted his father to make the proposal official. After that, Syrup came to him and said that he simply said that he could do as he pleased. Luke thanked her and thought that he did not care about him at all, as usual. He rode in a carriage and thought that everything happened quickly and soon the families arranged a meeting. When he came out, Count Caraban and his daughter met him and with a joyful expression said, welcome to their restaurant. He said with a smile that he was glad to meet you. They went inside, he apologized and was about to say something about his father. He turned to him and calmly said that he knew. He just showed up, said hello, and immediately left. There was nothing wrong with that. He could sit at the table. He thought that he couldn't believe that the head of a prestigious family refused to attend his own son's engagement. However, he didn't care at all. His intimidating behavior would be too much for her. The three of them sat down at the table, and he said that he asked to be allowed to speak openly. He was the youngest son, and had nothing to offer except himself. Would that be enough for their engagement? The Count said with a smile that his family would be happy to accept him. His daughter had already told him how much she loved him. Karen was embarrassed by this, after which, with a worried look, she asked if he really needed someone like her. Her father agreed and said that he had heard that he proposed to her himself, but some girls made fun of his daughter because of her appearance, and it worried him. The main character thought he was talking about Sister Iris. She bullies everyone except her beautiful friends. He looked at her and thought, by the way, she's a little chubby, that's true, but she's only 12 years old, she's still growing. Besides, he actually finds her round face even cute. Caraban said he's glad there was a guy who saw the inner beauty in his daughter. He thought he was asking for forgiveness, but that's not it. He's sure she's a good person and all that, but he's attracted to her cooking and status. He said that, by the way, everyone in his family, including himself, goes to sea from time to time. However, he looks like he can't stand the sun. Will that be a problem? MC thought their family started out as fishermen and traders. This family is involved in a wide range of maritime affairs. She has no brothers, so he will inherit the house. If she has a brother, he will gladly let him. Opening a restaurant with her cooking skills would be a great idea. He said that he was training and was stronger than he looked. Also, his sun countermeasures were in perfect order, so there was no reason to worry. He thought that besides, he could just call Val onto the ship, he wouldn't get seasick, and he could carry his luggage. Then he could just sleep. Caraban started to get up from the table and said that it was time for him to get out of their way. The two of them could just have fun together. She agreed, and he called him and said that he trusted him with his daughter. Luke thanked him and he started to leave, smiling widely, saying that he seemed to be in a big hurry. Karen called him in a confused voice and said that she wanted to become beautiful enough to be by his side. He looked puzzled and said that she was already quite cute. She said that was not true at all. He was a boy, but he looked very handsome. She had heard that he had been working on his appearance and health since childhood. He thought, so she had heard about it? Only one person comes to mind. At home, she always looks like she doesn't care, but she still keeps an eye on him. She said that she also wants him to help her grow up beautiful. He said that he would be happy to help, but he is quite a strict teacher. She understands that, right? She said with a serious attitude that she is ready to learn. Can someone like her become beautiful? He said that she can, and it is very easy. She was surprised because of this, and he thought that if he uses sleep and Val at the same time, he can put her on a diet. But she does not only want. Now is not the time to teach her everything at once. He called her little sister and asked if she does not mind going somewhere with him. She said that he can call her just by her first name. Then will she also call him just by his first name? He agreed and said that they will continue the conversation in his room. After that, they came to his room. He called Syrup and said that she must make sure that no one is eavesdropping on them. She agreed, and he thought that maybe he was being dramatic, but he was worried about what his sister was up to. The protagonist called Karen and said that he would say it straight out. His diet works on magic. In simple terms, he exercises while he sleeps. She thought it was complicated, but he said that he would explain everything now. His attributes are sleep and laziness. She was surprised that he had two attributes, and he said that he uses sleep for his diet. He summoned Val and said that he combines it with attributeless magic. It's simple. He will put her to sleep, and Val will enter her body, after which he will do exercises using her body. She understood this and asked, so this is a self-sufficient spell? He said that he uses it on himself for a demonstration. He thought that he would set a sleep timer for a minute, and he should show her a simple exercise. A minute later, he woke up looking tired and asked, did he move like a martial artist? She, looking shocked, said that it was amazing. He said that, however, he didn't remember anything. She said it was simply incredible. Could she really do it too? He said that she just needed to let Val enter her body. She agreed, after which she changed her clothes, and he asked if she was good at the exercises. She looked a little upset and said that no, she wasn't doing well, but she was quite strong. He asked why they didn't start with something simple so that her body could get used to it. An hour later, he wished her good morning and asked how she felt. She was lying on the couch and asked with a tired look, is she completely exhausted? Was it really a simple exercise? Her whole body aches. She can't move. MC came up to her and said that he will use the healing. He suggests sticking to simple exercises for now to increase endurance. However, some muscle pain will still remain, so she should hold on. Karen said sadly that she will try. After that, she stretched her hands and he said that now they will talk about beauty. First, you need to take soap and lather it well. She asked if it will be able to wash off the dirt at all in this form. He said that soap absorbs dirt. She should not worry. She will damage the skin if she rubs too hard. She should make sure to wash her face well. She also can't rub her face when drying with a towel. He thought that she was glowing with curiosity, so teaching her was quite pleasant. Next they have nutrition. A good body without a good diet is impossible. He said she was a great cook, so with the right ingredients she could make delicious diet food. She looked very interested and said it was very interesting. He thought she had become addicted to creating diet dishes from that moment on. Starting with simple ones, she took all his food ideas and immediately turned them into dishes. That's right, the Japanese dishes he loves. He was so glad he could try those dishes again in another world. He looked at the table filled with different dishes and said that, however, she had cooked too much. Karen said that, however, he had wanted to try cooking so many things. He said that no matter how healthy the food was, overeating was still harmful. She said that, however, you can't just throw it away. Luke asked, why not donate it to an orphanage then? There were a couple of those nearby. She said with a happy expression that it was a great idea. She would be able to experiment with cooking and give the excess to orphans. It would be a double win. He thought she tried to cook even more dishes and donated them to different orphanages every day. After some time, they were riding in a carriage, and he asked if she was going today too. She said that he himself had given her the idea. He agreed with this and thought that he wanted to laze around at home. Besides, orphanages were so unhygienic, he couldn't get used to it. Even with cleaning magic, the entire building was hard to clean. Besides, it was full of orphans who couldn't use magic and didn't wash. A girl ran up to them, called her loudly, and said that her younger brother was sick and couldn't get up. She asked her to help him. Karen was worried about this and said that it was terrible, but she didn't know healing magic. The protagonist thought that the church was in charge of orphanages, but priests only appeared when money was involved. He really didn't like the local church. He said that he couldn't do anything. He'd have to help. She brought them into the room, and he thought that this was not the most suitable place for a sick person. He approached the sick boy, bent down, and thought that there was a problem with his breathing. Perhaps he had pneumonia. He would imagine how his breathing would normalize. He used a spell and then said that he should feel better. The girl with a happy look said that she was very grateful for it. However, how much would it cost? He refused the money and said that he was the Duke's son and did not need money. He cured him so that he could practice magic. Now he knew how to treat this disease, so he should thank them. She asked with surprise, did he really not need money? She bowed, thanked him, and he thought that she was a smart girl. He was sure that an easy life awaited her if she had been born under different circumstances. He called Syrup and asked, the Duke has more money than he can spend, right? Since it is just lying around idle, why not spend it? After that, they came to the orphanage director's office. MC put down a bag with 50 gold coins and asked if this should be enough to clean up the orphanage and start teaching the children. He agreed and was about to say something, but he said that he had to listen. Thinking was very tiring. He would not take refusal. He immediately agreed and showed respect. He thought that at first he was just dragging along, but he was intrigued by it all. Orphans would make an excellent testing ground for studying his healing magic. After some time, when he turned 14, he thought that the 3 years that had passed since his engagement to Karen had been quite fun. Syrup performs the main duties, and she cooks food almost every day. However, he in turn continued to use Val and improve his beauty and health. A lazy life gradually becomes more and more fulfilling. He gained a lot of different experiences thanks to her. However, such days will sooner or later come to an end. It's because she's entering the academy this spring and will start her student life in the dorm, so he wants to make the most of this remaining time with her. However, she probably won't come. Although it seems to him that she's just late, he'll have to go look for her. He left the room, saw Testa Ugallo, who is 19 years old, and thought that it was unusual to see his brother at such an hour. He walks past him as always. He's even taller than him. Isn't that interesting to him? The main thing now is to find Karen. He knows where she might be. He found her sitting in the garden and thought that she had achieved great success with the diet she was following. Now she is known as a beauty who combines sweetness and femininity. Luke came closer, noticed Iris and called her by name. She called him with a smile and asked what happened. He asked if he could take Karen away from her. She asked if he wanted to interrupt their tea party. He said that she simply came to meet him. Now he came to return the stolen young lady. He thought that apparently she thought that she could somehow influence him with her gaze. However, such tricks don't work on him. Karen became worried when she noticed that they were looking at each other with a serious expression, asked for forgiveness, and said that she also wanted to talk to him. He looked at her and thought that for him personally, she was the sweetest girl. He said that it was not her fault. He called his sister and asked if she would stop already. Iris, embarrassed, looked away, covered her face with a fan and said that so be it. She could still meet with her at the academy as much as she wanted. He said that it was unfair. Next year, he would also be entering the academy, so she should wait. She looked at them with a joyful look and asked if they would both fight for her now. The protagonist thought she was very cute when she was confused. He also noticed that his sister was upset and thought there was no way out. He leaned towards her and said that her beautiful face scared her. He wished her good luck and asked if it was time for her to go to the academy, right? After that, he extended his hand to Karen, offered to leave, and thought that they rarely saw each other, so there was nothing wrong with creating a good mood. She was about to leave, called her and said that she apologized for being so rude. They left, and Iris remained sitting in the same place, breathing heavily and thinking that the only beautiful man who suited her so well. A few months later, he was lying on the bed in his room, and Syrup asked which book he would choose today. He thought that since Karen entered the academy, he stopped leaving the house. She always goes shopping. However, when he needs to choose some goods, he invites a merchant to his place. He doesn't have any other best friends besides malls, so he has no one to see. He got out of bed and said that he suggests going for a walk today. She said that it was unlike him. Maybe they should go another day when it doesn't rain? He said that it was no big deal. She wouldn't mind joining him? She agreed and said with a smile that it had been a long time since she had done that. After that, she drove the carriage, wearing a cape that hid her ears and tail, and MC thought that she was good at being a coachman. Together with Karen, the three of them went to different places. How he missed her. She took him to the right place. He got out and said that it was very fast. She said that no one would block the path of the Duke's carriage. He thought that power is great strength. So, is there what he wants here? He looked at the My department store and thought that there are huge department stores here, which are also found in games. You can also find most of the equipment and gifts for any occasion here. They went inside and he said that she could buy whatever she wanted to. She thanked him, and the department store employee said, "Welcome here. He is Mr. Luke, the Duke of the Discastos family, right? His name is Mosky Maid, and he is the owner of this store." He said with a small smile that he was a little surprised that he knew his name. He said that information is the main weapon of merchants. After that, he led them to the reception hall for honored guests, and said that they always welcome their guests warmly, although he is probably not very good as a partner. So let his daughter show and tell them everything today. The girl came up to him and said that she was pleased to meet him. Her name is Akari Maid. He thought, here she is. This girl is one of the main characters who moves along the merchant's route. He introduced himself and Syrup, and she said that she was also pleased to meet her. She called them and said that she was also pleased to meet them. He thought that he was glad that she was polite to her as well. He thought that he would only be able to look into this store once, but he did not know that they also personally receive customers here. That's luck. She continued smiling and asked, so what would they like to buy today? The protagonist said it was a good question. Could he ask her to show him a few recommended products? For example, beauty products or something for convenience? She said she understood him. Then, they will find something now. So the first thing she wants to introduce to his attention is a magic hairdryer. He thought she was a very positive girl. She unobtrusively showed and told him about the products one by one. After that, he bought almost everything, and with a satisfied expression on his face, thought what good purchases he had made. He turned around, called Syrup, and asked what she would like to buy. She immediately refused, and he thought that they very rarely go shopping together, so he would like to give her a gift. Akari got up from the couch and went somewhere. She returned with a small box and asked, in that case, how about this red choker? It immediately caught her attention and she asked, it's wonderful, isn't it? She said with a slightly sad look that however such a thing is for a simple maid. She did not have time to finish because he said that he was buying it. He thanked him, and Syrup, with a worried expression on her face, wanted to object to something. He handed her the box and said that it was gratitude for all her care. It seemed to him that she liked it, or was he mistaken? She said with a smile that she would not convince him anyway. He put the choker on her and asked if she liked it. She looked at herself in the mirror in surprise and said that it was beautiful. Akari, with a happy expression on her face, said that it suited her very well. After that, they left the store. She turned to him and asked what he would say about it. He touched her face and said that this choker went very well with her blonde hair. He thought with a joyful smile how glad he was that she liked it. She came out to them and said that she was very grateful that they visited their store. MC thought that today was a very pleasant shopping trip. Sometimes you need to have days like this. They started to leave, and he thought that next year he would also leave home and enter the academy, so he needed to go out at least a little. He returned to the estate and thought that so. He still needed to sort out some things before leaving home. More specifically, he needed to find out the reason why his character turned into a disgusting fat toad. He had some guesses, but he was too lazy to deal with all this. But he had to do it, because the path of laziness is thorny. After some time, he sat in front of a table with a mirror and thought about what he needed to do to become like this. Now he couldn't even imagine it. The materials were ready from the very beginning. Is it possible to turn into such a person just because of a sloppy life? What he had doubts about was the food of this world, which was not suitable for the body. The ingredients are the same as in his past life. He also considered the possibility of a weak body structure and allergies, but no normal answer was found. Food, ingredients, maybe Karen will understand something? After that, she wrote in a letter that almost all of these ingredients are poison. He read this and thought that even if these are materials used as medicine, depending on the method of consumption, there are cases of abnormal changes in the body, as well as death. Well, that explains the strange transformation. Perhaps it is worth checking again how things are with the poison. After that, he came to the second witness for information, Syrup, and she asked if he was interested in what he was like before. Until he was 4, he ate well, slept, and ate again. He was such a good child. He asked, that is, there were no strange changes? She agreed, and said that she did not even notice that he had a weak character until she was told about it. So when he fell ill, they were very surprised. She remembers that before this incident, they laid a huge table of delicious food for him on his birthday. After that, his condition worried them for a year. He seemed to be 6 years old at the time. Luke thought that he felt ill then, when his magical power completely ran out. He asked who used to cook for him. She said it was a personal chef, but then he quit, so the head butler replaced him. He thought with a serious expression, was it he who cooked the food that made him sick? It all comes down to one thing. It's time to settle this problem. After that, he brought the butler into the room, where he shackled him with Val's help and greeted him. He walked around the room and said that he was thinking about something. Why did he turn into a disgusting toad? If he grew up normally, then everything wouldn't be so terrible, right? He is grateful that he used to cook food every day. However, unfortunately, it seems that it did not suit him. He was sure that someone had put poison in his food. He removed the bandages covering his eyes and mouth with magic and asked if his father had given him the order. Hadn't he? He thought it must have been difficult to deal with him, who wasn't dying, but was getting healthier. He didn't want to take care of him at all, because he didn't know that he had learned restoration magic, and then he even created an antidote. He said that this was proof of it. The one who put poison in his food? Was it him? The butler apologized, and he thought that he never thought he would confess so easily. It was so boring, although his thirst for revenge would have grown stronger if he had resisted. He said that he forgives him, but the punishment has not been cancelled. He was very scared because of this and asked loudly what he was going to do to him. The protagonist created a magic circle and said that he would not take his life. He would only become a test subject in magical practice. He thought that laziness would be his gift. He finished using magic and asked, so if he used it on people, the result would be like this? He should get back to his work. He started to leave and thought that now everything was clear. Duke Descastos was his enemy. Father would not be interested in eliminating such a high-ranking person as the butler. However, it would be unpleasant if he provoked him into a premature attack. Therefore, he would weaken him. He would try to make his father's pawns useless. After that, Syrup met him and asked the master where he went. He asked to listen to him and asked if she would be glad if he said that he would enter the academy. She said that she thought it would be something natural. Didn't he intend to enter there? He touched her face and said that he had already chosen his path, and if he entered the academy, they would stop seeing each other. So most likely not. She said that she did not want to part with him either. He thought there was a high chance he would be killed if he went to the academy. Not going there would be a possibility. However, since his home wasn't safe either, he could move around, all for the sake of protecting his lazy life. He would help the main characters from the shadows and stage a confrontation between the royalist and aristocratic factions. Duke Descastos, the leader of the aristocratic faction, would be defeated, just like in the original story. This was the easiest way with the highest survival rate. What kind of troublesome person had he been reincarnated into? But maybe it was worth it. This was his favorite game world after all. So he would play the role of this character to the last. He would see if they could kill him. 1 year later, Syrup stood by the carriage and wished MC a good journey. He thanked her and went to the entrance examination center of the Arizida's Royal Academy. He thought that the entrance exams consisted of 3 parts: academic, magical, and practical. It is considered that the best student in each subject will be enrolled in a special class, regardless of status. He doesn't want to be in first place, so let things take their course. Someone next to him loudly asked, "What kind of beastman is this?" He looked to the side and wondered, is she taking the exam too? He was a little surprised when he saw the girl they were talking about and thought that she had green hair, eyes similar to emerald, and was a beastman. It was one of the heroines, the adventurer Ruby. She ran forward and dodged all of her opponent's attacks with incredible agility. She also struck very quickly, and he watched from the side and thought that large-scale battle techniques, in addition to the physical strength of beastmen. She defeated her opponent, and the man in the robe called his name and said that he would be next. He thought that now was such a good time. Someone asked if he could use non-attribute magic. He thought it was so troublesome. He used very strong magic, pointed a dagger at his opponent, and he admitted defeat. The man called the next one, and she looked at this with an interested look and then left. Luke looked around and thought that he had lost her. Okay, maybe they would meet at the academy. In the original, his character was able to pass the exam with excellent marks, so he didn't even have to worry about it. The next day, Syrup came to him with a letter that contained a notification of successful passing of the exam. He thought that the love strategy simulator for adults was starting. He thought with a smile that he understood that he shouldn't say such a thing, but how good he was. An ordinary uniform shouldn't look so chic, but his perfect body was too perfect. She approached him and said that the carriage was already prepared. He turned, thanked her, and thought that today his new life would begin. He would attend the oldest and most prestigious academy in the kingdom. It is also a playground for various political games. Most of the children of aristocrats go here. However, relatively recently, even commoners have been accepted if they are good enough. The number of students has noticeably increased. The academy has 3 main faculties: combat, magic, and academics. There are many dungeons in the kingdom, and monsters even escape, so the academy trains people to fight this threat. The academy also has its own research center and is actively developing magic. They even have a legendary mage. In the game, this part had two main goals. The first is to raise your basic stats. The second is to interact with the main character. Depending on your stats, you meet different characters. If the player wants a specific ending, then you need to take clear actions. In a past life, he fought against the main character from the shadows. He played the role of an aristocratic villain, but he would like to avoid this plotline because he wants to live. Of course, he is no longer a nasty fat toad, and he is sure that this will already bring its own changes. However, he must survive for them. Syrup asked, was she forgetting something? The protagonist denied this and said that she had prepared everything that was needed. She said with a displeased look that she was worried. If it weren't for the rules, she would be cleaning the dorm. He thought that her sense of duty was only getting stronger. Students who can't manage on their own are allowed to take a servant, but because of the age difference, he can't take her with him. He took her hands and said that he would be happy if she went with him, but they can't do anything about it. She agreed, and he thought that a servant should be close in age to an aristocrat. Naturally, nothing would work out. She said that she wasn't sure that he could manage alone. He tried to convince her that everything would be fine, and she said that he was the type of person who didn't like to make extra efforts. He asked with a smile, she knows that if he wants to, he can do anything, right? Besides, Karen is also at the academy. She said that she knew about it, but she was the one who wanted to take care of him. He thanked her and thought that she had been protecting him since he was little. She loved him madly, and her affection has not gone anywhere. At least, he believes it. She is his only family. She has always been his personal servant, but in recent days she has been taking over. Most likely, she is having a hard time. He hugged her, called her by name, and said that he was grateful to her. She was very embarrassed because of this, and he said that he would definitely repay her. She will trust him and wait, right? She hugged him too and said that she trusts him and will wait for his return. However, she will miss him. He reciprocated, and after that said that he will return at the end of the year. She will be patient until then, right? She agreed, and he said that she should look after the house while he is away. After that, they went to the academy by carriage, and he thought that he wouldn't be able to be with her for a while. But he wasn't going to give up on her. He had to wait until he finished his studies. He said that when he graduated from the academy and left the Duke's house, she could come. She sat in front of him and asked if he was sure about that. He agreed, and she said that she thought she wouldn't be needed anymore. He said that he wasn't going to leave her. She reciprocated, and he said that if Karen forgave him, they could become a real family. She was surprised by this and agreed with an embarrassed face. He thought that she was very sweet, and he adored it. When they arrived at the academy, he left and said that it was time to take a step towards a new life. Syrup was standing by the carriage, called him, and said that she wished him luck. He waved his hand at her with a friendly smile and entered the academy grounds. He walked closer to the dorm and thought that he was supposed to meet his escort here. A girl approached him and asked, "He's Master Luke, right?" He turned around, was about to ask something, and she immediately said that she recognized him right away. He is the same as her father had described him. She apologizes. She will introduce herself now. She is the daughter of Baron Malz Glico. Her name is Rivera. He called her father by his shortened name with a smile and asked, "So she is his daughter?" He thought that the main character looked like her father. Funny that she also looks like her father. She was assigned as his escort. It's not that important. She walked next to him and said that he is the only one who called her father like that. He asked if he could call her by his shortened name as well. She asked to call her by her first name, and he asked if she liked magic. She said with a happy expression that she adored it and wanted to work for the ministry in the future. She was a little upset when he said that he understood it. However, after that, he said that she would definitely succeed. She said with a little surprise that usually girls laugh at her desire. He did not understand this and said that she was talented and took magic seriously, so everything would be fine. She was glad to hear this and said with a smile that she was grateful to him for his support. She would be his escort. He said that she did not need to worry about him too much. He could take care of himself. She refused and said that she wanted to take care of him and get to know him better. He wondered if she really liked him that much. Rivera adjusted her glasses and said that his magic is an art. The protagonist thought that she was obsessed with magic. You can meet her in the game if you level up your magic. She is one of those whose love for magic goes too far. There will be problems if they continue to talk about magic. He said that they can talk about it later. Now he needs to move in. She said that she had already done everything because she did not want him to do something like that. He looked at her and thought that he was amazed by her enthusiasm. He asked then if she wanted to talk about magic. She happily agreed and said that they could go to a place where they could talk over a cup of tea. They sat down at a table. The smell of tea caught his attention, and she said that it was the perfect tea for talking about magic. He started drinking it and said that it was very tasty. She said that she was grateful that he agreed to talk. She would get straight to the point. He didn't mind hearing her opinion about his magic. He agreed, and she said that firstly, regarding attributeless magic, she started talking a lot about it, and he wondered if she had inherited a love for this kind of magic from her father. Her knowledge was very useful. She happily said that she thought it had simply enormous potential. Does he already know what he'll do next? He immediately remembered her father and thought that he could study magic with her. They finished their conversation and she said that it was time to go to the main event of the day. They arrived at the main hall of the academy, where the entrance ceremony would be held. MC began to look around and thought there were many people here he didn't know. Among all the people, he noticed the game's protagonist, recalled the past, and thought that here he was, the one who had done this. Did he notice him? He saw hostility in his gaze and thought it was a look of disgust. This is their first meeting. It seems like he's not the only one, right? Rivera called him and asked if something was wrong. He kept looking at him and asked why he was looking at him with such hostility. She looked at the apprentice knight Dan and asked if it was because he served the enemy faction. The Marshall family is still at the head of the royal faction. By the way, his neighbor, Lady Lingshan, is very brave. Magic is not her path, but she is good at using elemental magic, like a shield. If she remembers correctly, her magic is described as... Luke wondered if she knew about all the students' magic. Lingshan is a childhood friend of the game's protagonist and a knight. If you choose her, it will be the Marshall family's plot. Even if nothing works out with other characters, you can always return to her. She will be a good wife who loves her children and husband. If the protagonist does not choose her, then his character will be with her. She will appear as an enemy of the game's protagonist. Nothing will remain of her pure and kind character, but she has not lost a drop of her beauty. It is a mesmerizing sight. Her servant Dan is also studying at the academy. Despite being a commoner, he became a knight and can use elemental magic. Since childhood, he has been fighting monsters and training. He entered the academy and plans to follow in his father's footsteps. He wants to become a noble knight, but this will only further create a gap between them and the aristocratic faction. If nothing is done, he will get angry with him too. So many problems. The man on the stage said that Erina Shildi, the god of Arasidas, would give the welcoming speech. The first princess of the Arasidas kingdom came on stage and began to deliver her speech, which made him begin to yawn, and said that how long she spoke, it was so boring. Rivera asked, "She is very beautiful. Is it true that she did not interest him?" He refused and thought that he was not interested in her in the game either. She's just beautiful. There's nothing more to her. And he's already had enough of his sister Iris, and her beauty is enough for him. He said that, besides, he already has a girlfriend. She said that it looks like he's not going to sit still. He took out the pillow that Val was hugging, and she asked if he wanted to rest. He asked if he could do that. She agreed and said that, besides, she was interested, though they couldn't talk for now, but she would wake him up when it was all over. He thanked her and said that she was his savior. He lay down on the pillow, started to fall asleep, and thought that he was very glad that she was an understanding person. After a while, Rivera called him, trying to wake him up, and he asked if it was over yet. She agreed and said that it was time to wake up. Everyone had already left. He started putting the pillow back into the magic bag, and she asked if this was the same pillow. When her father first met him, he saw his pillow floating in the air. He remembered it and said with a smile that he understood now. He would let her use it someday. It was very convenient. She said with a happy expression that she was very glad to hear it. However, she suddenly became dissatisfied and said loudly that she would like to try it right now. But they were not finished yet. MC took her hand, started to leave, and said that they should go further. She was very confused about this. He let her go and asked if she was against it. She took his hand, denied it, and said that however, she was just holding hands with a guy for the first time. He said with a smile that then he should take responsibility. Could he walk her to class? She was very embarrassed and said that she was relying on him. After that, in the hallway, they met Lingshan, who looked at them and said that it was vulgar. Rivera was indignant about this and loudly asked what was that. They did nothing wrong. He said with a calm expression that she could ignore them. She was still unhappy about this and asked if it didn't make him angry. He said that it wasn't like that at all. He didn't want to waste his energy on that. She smiled and said that she should have expected that from him. She was surprised when he asked. Besides, it was fun to talk to her, so why waste his energy on anything else? They walked on and she asked if he really had fun with her. He agreed, and she happily said that she had fun talking to him too. They should finish all of this quickly. They came to their class 0, sat down next to each other, and Luke thought that it looked like they could sit anywhere. After that, the teacher entered the classroom and said that great, everyone was here. He asked to let him introduce himself. He was their homeroom teacher, Glorin Research. He looked at him and thought that he explained a lot of things in the game. A girl also entered with him and said that she would be the homeroom teacher's assistant. Her name was Cirrus. He thought, here she is, the hardest to win heroine, a witch who has seen the magic of the abyss and whose age is unknown. The homeroom teacher said there are 20 people in the class, including the 3 students who got the highest scores on the exam. Regardless of their scores, he will evaluate them based on their abilities. The academy student, a commoner named Muriel, looked at him with a smile. Lingshan raised her hand. He allowed her to speak, and she asked if he was going to evaluate them based on their abilities, how would he measure it? He said with a smile that it was an excellent question. He showed his hand and said loudly that they had a great invention, a magic watch. They must channel their magical power into it for it to activate. Thanks to this great invention, one can check their rank in magical power at any time. A hologram appeared in front of him, and he thought it was a stats window from the game. It said that he was 15 years old, level 1, number of monsters defeated 0, class affiliation class 0, and more. Glorin asked, Did they all activate the watches? Now their magic power was recorded. The stats could now be seen by everyone. The protagonist wondered if they were using detection magic for this to work. The system window listed mastered magic, magic without an attribute, everyday magic, magic enhancing magic, support magic, healing magic, and unknown magic with the sleep and laziness attributes. The unknown magic caught his attention, and the homeroom teacher said that their grades and ranks were available to everyone. They also viewed them. He looked at the system window and thought that this was the ranking of 300 students. In general skills, Aaron took first place and he was second. In practical skills, Ruby took first place and he was 10th. In academic performance, Muriel took first place and he was 5th. Rivera took first place in magic and he was 2nd. And he thought with a small smile that he knew this would happen. Glorin asked with a wide smile, what would they say about this? Magic tools are a direct path to the evolution of humanity. They agree, right? He continued to say something, and Sierra said that he should pull himself together. They must continue. She looked at this, and with a small smile said that this is a very eccentric person. MC leaned towards her and asked what she had there. She screamed very loudly out of surprise, which attracted the attention of everyone around, after which she said that she would show it later. After this, the homeroom teacher went to the window to calm down, and his assistant said that they should talk about life at the academy. They will choose what they will study themselves. The current ranks are just initial assessments. They will choose the future themselves, what they want for themselves. Their growth depends on themselves. However, if they do not give their all, they will end up at the bottom. That is the reality. However, there are exceptions. The Academy Fencing Tournament. It is held every year. It is the largest event at the Academy. Even if they have bad grades, they will have a chance to prove themselves there. Besides, the winner will receive the title of Noble Knight. They will also be able to challenge the winner of the tournament if they want. They must prepare for that day. He thought that Dan wants to become a Noble Knight, which means he wants to win the tournament. This will be useful to him in his career. She said that their system for preparing for the tournament includes training duels. Essentially, these are ranked duels. They can read the details on the watches, and she will also explain everything to them. Essentially, ranks are still very important. Luke thought that if he generalizes what she told, the basic rules are that those with a lower rank can challenge those with a higher rank. You can't refuse a duel, but until he gives an answer, the fight will not begin. If the challenger wins, he will rise in rank and get good grades. If he loses, the same opponent cannot be challenged again for 6 months. If you lose to the same opponent 5 times, you must surrender your sword to them. There are duels and team fights. You can participate in each of these types of duels only once per day. In case of unforeseen circumstances, such as illness, you can appoint a representative. If you delay the duel date too long, it will be counted as a technical defeat. It all feels so much like a game. Immediately after the rules were explained, his character challenged Dan and defeated him in the first fight. Essentially, this is a necessary duel for the plot, which begins the rivalry between them. However, he is too lazy and does not want to get involved. Dan raised his hand and called the teacher. He asked his name again, and he asked when he could make the first challenge. Glorin said that as soon as they received the watch, it was already possible. He turned around, loudly called the protagonist by name, and said that in that case, he challenged him. A notification appeared on his watch, and he thought it had begun. He was being challenged. A training battle with the game's villain. In the original plot, the training battle went like this. His character was trained only in the humanities. Naturally, the future knight defeated him easily. After this, he should harbor a grudge against him. He will also become noticeably more popular at the academy. His school life will flourish. In fact, it will become a stepping stone to his successful life. In the original, his character was simply furious that a commoner dared to challenge him. He finished recalling this and with a calm expression said that he refused. Dan asked with an arrogant smile, was he really scared? He calmly said that he was just lazy. He knows that he is in 2nd place, but what about him? He said that he is in 20th place. MC asked, he understands that there is no point in him in this duel, right? He does not want to fight an idiot who does not even understand this. Lingshan stood up and loudly said that she asked to be allowed to intervene. He is a worthy noble of the kingdom and must accept the challenge thrown down to him. He asked indifferently, then, maybe she will fight him? She is also a high rank, right? Or will she also refuse? She was confused by what she heard and he thought that she had always been hot-tempered. He just wants to be out of everyone's sight. Active participation in all this is contrary to his lazy lifestyle. He apologizes, but he is too lazy. Irina stood up and said that, however, Dan has excellent fighting skills, and he has magical skills. She would like to see a battle between them. She was glad that she intervened, and she called Lord Discastos and said that if he continues to refuse, he will lose rank. He must abide by the rules of the academy. Besides, an aristocrat must respond to the requests of his people. Such is the duty of an aristocrat. Refusal is simply unacceptable. He was very unhappy with this and wondered if she even listened to the teacher. At the academy, they are evaluated by abilities, not origins. Had she already forgotten that? He really doesn't like this princess, but he can't just refuse her. He still said that since Her Highness asked, he agreed. He thought that it seemed he couldn't go against the system alone. He came to the arena and thought he had no choice. How he hated wasting his energy on anything. To fulfill his role, he He had to lose this fight. However, was he really going to lose? Rivera walked next to him and asked if he was okay. She had heard that he didn't like physical activity. His opponent was a knight apprentice from the Marshall family, and judging by his test results, he was used to fighting. Luke called Val with a smile and said that everything was fine. She could be sure of it. He yawned loudly, and she said that he was such a mysterious man. He could use unique magic, and he was also a high-ranking aristocrat who didn't want to fight. He asked if he looked like an aristocrat. She agreed and said that aristocrats often tremble because they usually look the best. If anything, she wasn't trying to hurt him. He said he was glad to hear it. Now, he would know that she wouldn't hate him. She was very surprised by this and said loudly that she would never do something like that. They reached the arena, and he thought that they were here for the entrance exam. He looked at the stands and thought that they were interested in watching the first rank battle. Glorin came out to the arena and asked if they were all ready. Dan agreed and said loudly that he would put him in his place. He saw him sleeping at the entrance ceremony. The protagonist didn't pay attention to him and asked if she would wait for him here. She agreed, and he became very angry and said loudly that he shouldn't ignore him. He turned to him and said in an angry voice that he heard him, but didn't hear gratitude for agreeing. He became even more angry because of his words and loudly asked what his level was. He thought that the level increases when a person kills monsters. He does not obey the rules of the game and did not waste time on levels. He believes that skill and strategy are much more important. He looked at the system window and said that, yes, he is level 1. He was very surprised by this and asked loudly, he did not fight monsters even though he is an aristocrat? He thought, does every aristocrat have to fight monsters? He clenched his hand into a fist and said loudly that this was not what he expected. Glorin called both participants and said that they should take their positions. MC with a calm expression said that he hoped that it would be a good fight. He said that the first ranking fight had begun. He waved his hand, and he calmly stood in place in front of his opponent and thought that in the original fight from the game, the difference in strength is huge, but he can win in 1 minute. He called Val and thought that he does not want anyone else to get hurt. He himself will not admit defeat, which means the referee should do it. With this magic, he easily blocked Dan's attack and looked at him with a smirk. After a while, he held him above the ground with energy and wondered if this was the end. He was about to strike with his sword, but Dan knocked the sword out of his hands with a sharp swing of his hand. He looked at his battered face and thought that he didn't have any serious injuries. In the original story of the game, he wins when he uses his special move, but he can't lose here. He swung his fist and said it was time to finish. He was about to block his punch, but he used sleep to make him lose consciousness. Luke thought that his special magic essentially increases his stats, cheat magic. While he is so weak, the boost won't be significant. The effect gets stronger as his magical power and body strength grow, but he can't resist sleep yet. He won, but he hasn't yet created an image of a villain in the eyes of others. He needs to do something. He started to lift him high up with his magic, and Lingshan asked loudly with a worried look, what was he doing? Glorin called his name loudly and said that he had won and should let Dan go. He agreed and stopped using magic, causing him to fall, which really scared her. The teacher immediately ran to him, caught him with his hands, and carefully put him on the ground. She, with a very displeased expression on her face, loudly called him a coward and asked, was he going to do this while he was unconscious? He was a little surprised by this and thought, was she insulting the winner? Is this how an aristocrat should behave? He looked at her emotionlessly and said that they were the ones who forced him to fight, so they got what they wanted. He turned to the people in the stands and asked, did they see everything? He was ready to accept the challenge to a fight right now. They could consider this a special favor. Maybe someone wants to take advantage of the fact that he was tired? Lingshan was very unhappy about this and gritted her teeth in anger. He asked, is there no one? Then they should let them all say something. They should respect those who have knowledge, that is, him, and respect those who study magic. He also hates idiots who rely solely on strength. He began to concentrate energy in his hand and said that if other savages like him wanted to challenge him, he clenched his hand into a fist, dispersed this energy, and said that then he would make each of them regret it. He thought that his classmates would tell everyone how bad he was. He hoped that no one else would challenge him. Lingshan said loudly in a very dissatisfied voice that this should not go unpunished. Dan will defeat him. He must remember that. He ignored her and began to leave the arena with Rivera. She looked back with a slightly confused look and asked, is he sure he won't say anything? The protagonist asked with a puzzled look. What did she mean? She said that she meant that he wouldn't let him fall and was planning to catch him. He yawned and said that he was lazy. He didn't want to waste time and energy making up excuses. Besides, how can you explain anything to an idiot whose only thoughts are justice and pride? He thought he'd said enough. She said that he was probably right. He sighed with great displeasure when he heard a female voice ask if she could talk to him. He called her highness and asked what happened. Erina looked at him and said that he could call her by her first name. They were classmates after all. He said that then she could call him by his first name too. So what did she want? She said that, to be honest, she liked his face. He thanked her and thought that he didn't even want to be near royalty. They had zero compatibility. She said that she had heard about him from her brother, He thought that was right, their brothers were classmates after all. She said that, however, she was very interested in what he was capable of. As a member of the Discastos family, she was very grateful that he showed her such a great fight. She apologized. That's all she wanted to say. After that, she left and he wondered, what was the point of that? Rivera looked at her and said that she didn't seem to be able to relax. He turned to her and asked what she was talking about. She smiled and said that he could ignore her. It had been a great first day. Sometime later, at night, Karen went out onto the balcony and asked why he was standing there. MC said he was just relaxing for a bit. He hadn't eaten the food she had cooked for a long time. His stomach was completely full. She said with a happy expression that she was glad to hear it. She cooked it specifically so that he would like it. He came closer and said that thanks to her cooking, he always feels better. She said that he shouldn't overpraise her, otherwise she would get carried away. He said with a happy smile that there was nothing wrong with that. Besides, everything was going well for him. He even had results. She said that it was all thanks to him. He said that he just gave a couple of tips. Not everyone can find an idea for a successful business. It was all entirely her merit. She said that he was too modest. He should at least accept praise sometimes. He said that he didn't need it. Besides, he would also benefit if her family became richer. She said with a smile that he was the only aristocrat who could say something like that. She touched his hand and asked, "He's serious, right?" He agreed and thought that they always talked a lot. His family was indifferent to him. Besides, he wanted to live a lazy life. So he fell in love with her cooking. She knows all this and gives him her true love. Karen laid her head on his shoulder and asked if he loved her only for her cooking. He put his arm around her waist and said that he loved her with all his heart. She said that everything was so interesting. He would stay with her in the room even if they were not married. Luke knelt before her and said that she was the most important thing in this world to him. Even if the ducal family fell, even if the count's family fell, he could not live without her. He asked to let him stay with her that evening. She called him a villain with a smile and asked what woman could ever refuse him. They flew out of the dorm, sitting on Val, and she said that if he rode through the air with someone else, she would be jealous. He said that he would try not to do that. The next morning, Dan was running on the street, looked to the side and wondered who was there at such an hour. He noticed the main character and wondered, did he meet Discastos at such a late hour? Was he really planning something bad? He used the trace skill, started practicing, and he looked at it and wondered, what kind of movements are those? It's like he's dancing. It's very pleasant to watch it. However, he moves like a professional fighter. Usually, physical abilities increase with each level. A person with a lower level is noticeably weaker. However, he lost to him. It seemed to him that it was because he let down his guard, but that was a mistake. His physical abilities are on a different level. There's a huge difference between them. This is the first time he's seen this and doesn't understand why he didn't understand it right away. He acts cheeky, but he tries very hard. He was taught how to become a great knight. He trained a lot and raised his level. He was told that he must dedicate himself completely to battles. However, even so, he can't reach this guy. He raised his head with a smile and said that it was amazing how wide this world is. He needs to think about it. He continued training and thought that, without a doubt, training can make him stronger. However, the main problem is that he needs to use his brain. He doesn't understand magic well. He's not very good at studying, but the academy is the right environment for him to improve. He wants to defeat him. Although now he doesn't see a single chance, how cool it will be. He will challenge him again and will definitely surpass him. Although he is very far from him now, he will try. After some time, the protagonist came to the dining room, where he met Iris, called her and wished her good morning. She was having tea with honey for breakfast and greeted him along with Rivera. She called him by name and asked if he remembered to eat well. He agreed and thought that even when she was in a bad mood, she was still very caring. She knew that he had also been accepted. His sister was always attentive to her loved ones. Being a high-ranking aristocrat, she was kind to the people around her. Given her beauty, some considered her a saint. She also presided over the welcome party for the applicants. He, too, as a representative of the new students, approached her to greet her. In addition, rumors that the royalist students had lost began to spread. He said goodbye to his sister. Rivera bowed and also said goodbye, and she agreed and said that they should work hard. He thought that he would like to offer her medicine to improve her blood pressure. After that, he brushed his teeth, left the bathroom, attracted the attention of the students passing by, and thought that his first duel was a sensational event. The royalists looked at him with hostility, while the other aristocrats looked at him with respect. The neutrals were simply curious and didn't yet know how to interact with him. They entered the classroom, and Lingshan turned away from him with a displeased expression. He went to his seat and thought the threat had worked. No one would bother him for a while. He could finally focus on his studies. First, an elective. The academy had two types of classes, mandatory subjects and basic ones. Electives, magic, and practical skills. The game had classes for leveling up each of the classes. He didn't need them. He'd choose what he liked. If he didn't need practical skills, then he needed magic. The importance of magic is essential for achieving the ideal lazy life. Rivera turned to him with a smile and asked if he'd made up his mind. assigned yet. He said that he had chosen magic and the science of magical tools as his main subjects. He would neglect the rest with whatever was least annoying. She said that she had done the same. There were no classes today, so they should go to the training halls. He was interested in these and asked why they should go there. She turned around and said that there were separate rooms for practicing magic. Different rooms can be used depending on rank. Rank 0 can use all the facilities. He thought that this was the best environment for young talents. There is also a ranking system here. They encourage competition between students. She led him to the right hall and he thought that it was quite spacious. He asked if there was too much space here. She sat down on the floor and said that there was one more thing that needed to be done. She used magic and changed this space, which she immediately told him about. MC was surprised by this, started looking around, and said that you can even retire here for training. She asked if this was the first time he saw such magic. He agreed and said that in his family he is the only one who uses magic. He had not seen such a spell in books. However, he did not have it very often. He hopes that she will teach him a lot. He looked at the floor and asked, "Is this a magic circle? Circles are usually smaller for everyday needs." She said that, however, this circle still needs to be corrected. It is very important to be able to draw circles correctly. It is necessary to learn. He summoned Val and said that magic is convenient, but requires some effort. Of course, he can use attributeless magic, but without imagination, he would not have succeeded. However, once he got used to handling it, it became very easy. She looked at him and asked if he liked this too. He turned around and said, "It's deep, isn't it?" She agreed with a joyful smile and said that that was why she was interested in him. So then, can they get down to business? He agreed, after which they sat down at the table, and Rivera said that first they needed to write down information about him. She handed him a note with her characteristics, and it was written that she was 15 years old, level 4, 36 monsters killed, and rank 0. Grades, 7th place overall, 32nd place in practice, 10th place in basics, 1st place in magic. Studied magic, attributeless, everyday magic, strengthening, support, and healing. Attribute magic, water. He read this and asked if it was easy to use magic with the water attribute. She agreed and said that water is excellent for both attack and defense. She could hardly start experimenting with it. Luke called her and said that it seemed like she already had a lot of ideas. She agreed and said that she was looking forward to it. He handed her his document with characteristics and said that this was his magic. She was very surprised when she saw it and asked, "Is he absolutely sure? It is better to keep such magic secret." He agreed and said that his entourage had already warned about it. She said loudly in a worried voice that then even more so. He said that her father also knew everything, so everything was fine. Besides, she wouldn't tell anyone, right? She agreed and said that she promised she wouldn't tell anyone. She also remembered his fight and said that he knocked Dan unconscious with a sleep spell. She saw this magic for the first time then. He will continue to use this magic, right? She's looking forward to it. He agreed, pointed to his documents, and said it said unknown, which worried him a little. Rivera asked if he was talking about Val. It's original magic, so it's not listed here. The protagonist asked, "So, original magic doesn't show up in the analysis. With the evaluation, you have to add it to the database first, right?" She said that the evaluation did allow for a more detailed analysis. However, it would also be a good idea to test its capabilities in the dungeon. Unfortunately, the size of this instrument doesn't allow for the use of all its functions. A more high-tech instrument is clearly needed. However, it's logical that they offer a more convenient instrument, but with fewer functions. If they're not pursuing convenience with it, then she didn't finish because he nodded and said he'd like to find another magic watch as soon as possible.